Hey everybody, welcome to class. My name is Todd McLeod. I'll be your instructor in this course. In this video, we're going to take a look at what it takes to be successful as a student, and you're also going to learn things about what it takes to be successful in life. So the number one reason students go to college and university is because they want to become more successful professionally. They want to get a better job, a more rewarding job, a job that's more rewarding in all ways. Better pay, but also more satisfaction, more autonomy, more freedom, more independence, all that stuff, more meaning, more fulfillment. So that's the number one reason students go to college and university. So to that end, I want to take a minute here at the beginning of our course in this very first video just to tell you what it takes to be successful as a student. And many of these principles for success as a student are principles which will also make you successful in life. So we're going to see that here first. It's the number one thing. It's my number one job as your professor is to help you become more successful. And so we're going to look at that here as the first point. And the second point, we're going to get a little orientation to our course. So those are the two things we're going to cover in this video. I really encourage you to watch this entire video. There's some really important information in it. All right, first thing to know to be successful as a student, the number one factor that correlates with student success, let me say that again. The number one factor that correlates with student success is grit, persistence. You just don't quit. You don't give up. And there's research into this. You could go to YouTube and you could watch this video here, Grit, the Power of Passion and Perseverance by Angela Lee Duckworth. It's a TED Talk. So this video here is only 5 minutes long, and it's great. It gives you a little bit of an overview of, this exact concept that I've been talking about, that if you want to succeed as a student, you just don't quit. She also has an amazing book. It's not required for the course. This is just something you could do in your own time, on your own time. And it also has an audiobook, but it Grit, the Power of Passion and Perseverance. So watch the TED Talk. If you like that, you could go listen to the book. But that will give you a real solid foundation and understanding in this idea that anybody can succeed at college and university, right? And to succeed at college and university, to get your bachelor's degree, your master's degree, your doctorate degree, the number one thing you could do is to not quit. Just keep going. Just keep doing the work. Keep working at it every day, moment after moment, step after step. You just keep showing up. You go to class. You watch the videos. You do the work. You just keep doing that, doing that, doing that. Put in the time. You got to put in the time. But if you put in the time, you will succeed. As an undergraduate, I wasn't the best student. I got B's, a couple of C's, an A here or there. But then when I went to graduate school, I decided, you know what, it's time for me to kind of get my life on point and to do a better job. And I treated school in a very disciplined way, where every day I blocked out time for doing my schoolwork. I blocked out time for going to class. I lived as cheaply as possible. I had a $1,500 car, right? I had this old junky car, and I just lived as inexpensively as possible. I lived at home with my parents. And I was able to dedicate and devote all my time to working on school. So every day for many hours, I would sit there and study, and I'd do my work, and then I'd go to school. I just treated it like my job. And I got straight A's except for one B when I was a graduate student. And then I was awarded this medal called the Dean's Medal, where they said, you were the very best graduate student this year. And they gave me that, for the year that I graduated, and they gave me that award. And so that just illustrates that if you put in the time, if you don't quit, if you do the work, if you just keep taking step after step, it's going to lead to success. And getting your degree, your bachelor's degree, your master's degree, and your doctorate degree, or your medical degree, or your JD, your legal degree, your lawyer degree, getting your degrees is one of the best pathways you can take, one of the best pathways to the middle class and the upper middle class and even further and beyond. Because degrees open doors, and degrees lead to dollars, and degrees correlate with better pay, better satisfaction, more meaning, more fulfillment, more autonomy, more independence, more freedom. The higher your degree, the more of that stuff you're going to get. So truly getting your degree, bachelor's, master's, and doctorate, it's just going to open more doors. It's going to get you more dollars, more satisfaction, more fulfillment, more meaning. And that's the best thing you could do, right? So here you can see some information. You could just go to ChatGPT, and here I said, or Grok or Gemini or Copilot or any of these large Perplexity, Claude, any of these large language model chatbots. You could go to them and ask it, please tell me how university degrees correlate with earning potential and employment. And so here, workers with bachelor's degree earn more than those with only a high school. Adults with bachelor's degree earn significantly more on average each year than high school. More education generally means more income. Associate's degree higher than no college. Bachelor's higher still. Master's highest earning. So median weekly earnings, approximately 2,000. Those are approximately signs, okay? Little tildes there. All right, you see that? But you know, with less than high school, you're making $730 a week. With high school, you're making $930 a week. And with a doctorate, you're going to be making 22. A professional degree like a doctor's degree or a lawyer's degree, you'll be making a little bit more, 23. So, and the amount of people unemployed, right? Approximately 6% of people with no high school are unemployed. High school diploma, 4% are unemployed. But the higher your degree, the less people are unemployed. So you're going to be more employed and you're going to get paid more if you get degrees, and you just don't quit. Personal story to illustrate the power of grit, passion, perseverance, not quitting, to illustrate how that leads to success in academia and in life. My family used to be really poor. My dad grew up on a farm. We were farmers, and we had land in Canada, north of Winnipeg, which is north of North Dakota. And there was a wood house that my dad grew up in. It had no plumbing, no indoor water, no toilets, no gas, no electricity. If they wanted water, they went to the creek in the summer, or they melted snow in winter. If they wanted heat, they burned wood in the fireplace or in the stove. If they wanted to cook, right, they burned wood in the stove. And my dad wanted better, so he applied to go to university in Canada, but he couldn't get in. He couldn't pass the math exam, so he didn't quit. He had grit. He had persistence. He didn't give up. And he found a university in Nebraska in America that he could get into, so he went to that university. He got his bachelor's degree, he got his master's degree, he got his doctorate degree in sociology, and then he became a professor at Fresno State. Like, he just did not quit, right? He knew what hard work was. He knew what hard work was. He'd grown up on a farm, and when he got to school, it was easy. All he had to do is sit around and read books, right? Like, he learned what he needed to learn. He did what he needed to do. He just didn't quit. He kept going. And then eventually they gave him a doctorate degree and they made him a professor at Fresno State. That's how our family ended up at Fresno State. And then in the summers, when I was a kid, we'd go back to Canada, and my dad would teach at the very universities in the summer that wouldn't let him in as a student 10 years previously, 10 years before that. And so that just illustrates the power of grit, perseverance, not quitting, to being successful as a student. There are a couple of other things you could do to be successful as a student. One of the things you could do is get to know all of your professors. Most students don't do this. So in your in-person classes, you want to get a water bottle, or on the back of your laptop, get some of these letters. You could order them off of Amazon and put them on your water bottle or your laptop. And when you're in class, sit in the first row or the second row, one of those two. And that way your professors will see your name. They'll be able to call on you. You could tell your professors or whoever asks about it, yeah, I just want you to know my name. And professors have a lot of students. And so doing something like that in your classes is going to help your professor get to know you. You want to engage in your classes. Like, don't be timid. Don't be shy. If you feel timid and shy, act otherwise. But you are here for yourself. You are here to get an education. You are here to succeed. And so to succeed, you have to start doing the things that lead to success. If you want to realize what most people don't realize, you have to do what most people don't do. Let me say that again. If you want to realize what most people don't realize, you have to do what most people don't do. And so a lot of people are timid, they're shy, they don't speak up in class, they don't ask questions, and they just kind of fade into, the general background, and the professor doesn't get to know them. But the more you engage in class, the more you ask questions, the more you raise your hand, the more you contribute when the professors ask questions, the more you're going to be doing something called active learning. You're not going to be passive, you're going to be active. You're thinking about things, you're asking questions, you're engaging, you're proactive, right? Like, all of this stuff is going to help you learn more effectively, more efficiently, which means you're going to learn more quickly and you're going to remember it for longer. Because if you're just there tuned out, right, kind of half asleep, that's not a good state to be in for learning. But if you're like, wow, tell me more about that, or what about this? Like, if you have a question and you ask about, like, get curious, right? Engage that curiosity, ask questions, engage, get to know your professors. And when you do that, you're going to learn faster and you're going to learn more effectively. And then in addition, your professors are going to get to know you. So your name's on your laptop or your water bottle, you're engaged in class, you're sitting in the first or second row, right? And the reason this is important is because you're going to need people to help you. And your professors know people, right? Your professors know people. And like industry needs really passionate, good people to do work, right? They need people who have a good attitude. They need people who are passionate and engaged and interesting and curious, and people who think creatively, and people who will talk, right? Like they need people like that. And so if you're doing that in class, I kid you not, when I did that as a graduate student, my professors would introduce me to people like, oh, you should meet Todd. Like, oh, you need somebody to come help you? Let me introduce you to Todd. Todd is great. Right? Like, and I got to know my professors. My professors introduced me to people. They opened doors for me. And it happens in more ways than just that. Like you're going to need letters of recommendation. So at the end of the semester, and you cannot do this for me, what I'm going to tell you, because I don't want to be pandering to you for trivial gifts or for thank yous. Like I don't need that. I'm here to help you. I'm giving you the insider information. So at the end of the semester, you want to take your professor, every other professor except me, a thank you card. Take them a thank you card and even a little gift, like a little chocolate bar, and wrap it up. Make it special. Put it in some gift wrap paper. But take a little chocolate bar wrapped up as a gift, a little thank you card, and just say to your professor, hey, I appreciated you being my professor, really valued learning from you. Thank you for all your time and effort and everything you did to help me move forward. Really appreciate it. Here's a token of my appreciation. And give your professor that thank you card and that little gift. And guess what? If you want to realize what most people don't realize, if you want to be in the top 1% of jobs, of earnings, you have to do what most people don't do. And by giving your professor that little gift, you have activated a psychological principle called the reciprocity principle. This is studied in, I don't know, what's it called? Psychology. This is studied in psychology. So if you go here and you put in reciprocity principle, tell me about it, right? It's going to tell you about the reciprocity principle. So when you do something nice for somebody, that in their mind makes them indebted to you, and they're now more inclined to do something nice for you. So your professors get to know you, you're engaged in class. At the end of the class, you give them a little thank you card and a little bit of a gift. You engage the reciprocity principle. And then 6 weeks later, you message your professor, email your professor and say, hey, I'd love to have a letter of recommendation from you. Okay, so you ask your professor for a letter of recommendation, and you could pre-write it. You could go into Gemini or ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude or any of these large language model chatbots. You could enter your resume, you could enter information about the class, you could pre-write this letter of recommendation for your professor. You could say, here's a pre-written letter that I put together. Feel free to modify and adjust it as you like. Or if you like it the way it is, you could just sign it. Right? And I'd love to have this on file so that when I go for a job or apply to graduate school, I have a letter of recommendation from you. I really valued your class. And now you have a letter of recommendation from your professor. Your professor will be like, sure, that's part of a job of a professor is to give letters of recommendations to their students. You've asked for it and you're going to get it. If you're a good student and you participated and you gave your professor a thank you card and gift, you're going to get an amazing letter of recommendation. And you're going to do that for every class. And when you do that for every class, at the end of your bachelor's degree, a bachelor's degree is 10 classes a year. It's 5 every semester, 3 units each class. So that's like, 30 units a year, and then it's 120 units over 4 years. So it's 40 classes, 10 classes a year. You're going to have 40 letters of recommendation, and you are going to be very unique. Practically nobody else has 40 letters of recommendation. You're going to have 40 letters of recommendation at the end of your undergraduate bachelor's degree, 40. And in addition, you could go to LinkedIn. So once your professor gives you your letter of recommendation, you could go to LinkedIn. And at LinkedIn, you could say, you could ask your professor, hey, will you now post the recommendation to LinkedIn? Right? And your professor's like, and you can give a couple of little instructions about how to do that. You could say, hey, give me the instruction about how to post a letter of recommendation on LinkedIn. You could include that in your request to your professor after you get the letter of recommendation. So you put your name on your water bottle, you sat in the first 2 rows, you got to know the professor, you asked questions, you were engaged, you sometimes talked to the professor for 3 or 5 minutes after class. Then you gave the professor a little thank you card and a gift. Then you asked for a letter of recommendation. Then you had them post also the letter of recommendation on LinkedIn. You are now doing what most people don't do, and you're going to realize what most people don't realize. Okay? And that's going to help you in all areas of life. I kid you not. I know people like your professors will know people that will surprise you. Let me just say that. And I am like less than, 1 degree of separation from some and sometimes directly connected to some pretty incredible people. And so getting to know your professors can help open doors. And it'll help you get into grad school, and it will help you, get jobs and internships. So you really want to stand out. Like, this is the application process right here. It's not a job interview one time. It is like over 4 years, every day as an undergraduate. And you want to dress well. Okay, so don't show up get a button-up shirt. You don't have to wear a tie as a student, but if you're a guy, get a nice button-up shirt. Look professional. Get a blazer jacket. If you feel weird dressing up, I used to feel weird dressing up, but then I like the James Bond movies. So James Bond trailers. I don't know. I can't think of any of the names. No Time to Die, Casino Royale, No Time to Die. I like Daniel Craig as James Bond, right? But James Bond really kind of made me feel comfortable in suits, because this guy will ride motorcycles and have these massive adventures and jump out of an airplane, and get in fights, and then he adjusts his cuffs. And so I realized I used to feel stiff and stuffy in nice clothes. But then I just realized, you know what? I'm just going to give myself the freedom to do whatever I want. Pull-ups, push-ups, whatever it is, I'm just going to do it. So that's for me was the inspiration for feeling more comfortable in nice clothes. But you want to dress well, because the way you dress is how people perceive you. And it's even how you perceive yourself. And so if you start treating yourself with more respect and looking more professional, other people are going to treat you with more respect and treat you more professionally. So you're really signaling to the world when you start to dress in a professional way and start to dress well, you're really signaling to the world that you are that kind of person. And so you really want to get your dressing on point and look great, both men and women. All right. So it's a little bit about being successful. There's simple things to do, but not everybody does them. You want to have grit. You don't want to quit. You want to keep at it. You want to work hard every day, put in time every day, block that out. You want to live as simply as possible and just focus on school and don't get distracted about making a little bit of extra money or having a little bit of a nicer car. Live as cheaply as possible, drive the junkiest car possible, or ride your bike or whatever. And really focus on putting all of your resources, all of your time and energy into doing your schooling, getting your bachelor's, your master's, your doctorate, and everything else will be great. Really focus on it, and life will take care of itself. And then treat people really well and have a great attitude, be positive, and be gracious and kind to people. And ask for those letters, get to know your professors, and ask for those letters of recommendation. And then get those recommendations on LinkedIn, and you're really going to stand out. All right, so those are some foundations for being successful as a student. There's a couple of other things which you could do to be successful in life. And so let me see if I could think about these things here. There's 3, and then there's 4. And so the 4 areas of health and the 3 factors of success. So mindset is one of the big factors of success. Let me get these notes. Hold on one second. All right, I am back, and I'm just making sure this is recording. So I put together this course here, and I'm just going to put it onto YouTube. And I'll provide a link here down below of this video, and it'll be to where you could find these videos. But this course outline here, these videos here, it's 48, there's my cat. It's 48 pages long, just these things that could help you be successful at college and university and also in life. But the 3 pillars of success are knowledge, network, and mindset. It's what you know, it's who you know, and it's your mindset. You want to have a positive mindset, right? What you know, hey, you're a physicist, you're a data scientist, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer. Like what you know helps you be successful. Your network, who you know. If you know the right people, you're going to be successful. So what you know, who you know, and mindset are the three factors, the three pillars of success. And then in addition, just one other thing which I want to mention is the 4 areas of health, because these all influence each other. You have your physical health. Obviously, if your physical health isn't working well, nothing in your life is going to be working well. So you have your physical health, you have your mental health. That's your mind, your intellect, your perspective, right? Your social emotional intelligence, like everything up here, that's your mental health. So I think of mental health as more than just like, mental health like therapy, but that's part of it, right? But you also have mindset, you also have what everything up in the mind. So you have your physical health, you have your mental health, you have your financial health. That's an area of health which is really important. And so how do you cultivate good financial health? And then you also have your social health. So these are the 4 areas of health. So those are just a couple of other factors of success. I will link this course outline here beneath this video. And also, I haven't started putting these videos up yet, but I'll find a link and put it down below when I do so that you could watch those videos too. All right, so it's a little bit about being successful as a student and also being successful in life. I think I'm going to leave this as a standalone video, and in the next video, we're going to do an orientation to the course. See you in the next video.